When plans in the real world fall through, there's only one thing for it, and that is some champ. And what better champ content than the Super League? Good evening to Dimble. Good evening to Rob. Good evening to Mega Horse. Good evening to Jens. Appreciate you joining us. But most importantly, good evening to, I think, probably the man that is the grandfather of the league now. Alf Bridge is kind of taking a step back, but I mean that in an absolutely endearing way. Martin, how you doing, my man?
Gosh, but I guess I'll take it. I don't know anyone else over 46. If not, then I'll I
I,
guess it'll
I
be
meant
me.
that
I'm fine, Doug, and thanks.
I meant that more of a kind of a reflection of your wise level-headedness in this league of what can be kind of twats, really. I think we'd probably describe them as. And like I said just before we kind of came live, Martin, who'd have thought it? Me and you in my spare room on a Saturday night, stone cold sober. Who would have ever thought that that was a possibility? Back into the Gazelles hot seat tonight, mate, for the first time in a while. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, apparently Dan's away to enjoy himself. I'm not sure how that's allowed with partners and children and all of that, but he seems to have struck up a good deal there. So I've volunteered to take the reins for the evening and see if I can guide us to not getting any red cards. But as you know, that's not really been our strength this season to get on the right side of the other referees.
Yeah, well, more than a few red cards, really, a fair few red cards, but actually came away with the win last game. Just kind of thoughts on the season so far for Gazelles, doing fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously with hanging out with the committee over the summer, but over the break between the two seasons, I wasn't really uh, that involved in anything. I'm never really involved in anything Dan does. He kind of knows what he's doing as opposed to me. But yeah, I saw the deals that came in, and I was thinking maybe it's not what I would have done, but then he, he has the track record already of getting into the playoffs and doing a good job. So I think with some of the names, I mean, I definitely see why I was happy for him to bring Seedorf back in, especially Agat as well as an interesting player. Vanoli we looked at from the out of league perspective, just to it can be difficult, you know, yourself when you want to swap something, upgrade specific positions. You know, people are starting to get wise to it after so many seasons. Yeah, it only really seems to be one or two managers who can get very favorable deals for themselves. So happy with how the season's been going. Two wins from two, but the red cards have really been a bit of a bit of a downer for us.
Yeah, at least one red card in the last three games, and tonight you take on a resurgent East Coast, who again, as you'd expect, are doing well. Any thoughts on tonight's game?
Yeah, I mean Dimble obviously came in and I mean he's shown what that he's very good at this stuff since day one. Basically, he has a strong squad. It's maybe not all of the biggest name, but it's very versatile. There's Anelka, who you know we'd love to have getting goals for him, and yeah, it's no surprise that they lost to Bern really in their one defeat, but the other kind of games that they've played they've been very very strong. I mean, I'm not overly familiar with all of the players that they have at their disposal and how well they would normally perform, but it's a strong squad and he's a good manager, so it's a tough gig for us tonight.
Absolutely. And I'll just kind of let everybody know I am on solo dad duty tonight. So the monitor is within eye distance. And if at any point the dummy falls out, or if at any point she just decides she wants a random kick off, then I might have to hand over comms of the game to Martin. But of course, you're a bit of a master at it, mate. So I'm not stressed about that at all, if that's all right by you.
I'm sure I'll manage.
We're going to start. We're going to kind of eliminate the first two games for obvious reasons, and we're going to start with what I think could be the game of the night for me. We're going to start with Haggis against Badgers. Last time out, Haggis were beaten 2-1 by PPP, something that Rob was absolutely buzzing with. And they have made a slight change in reserves in Amoroso coming up and Rossini going down. Rox was very, very happy to see the back end of him. This Haggis side, Martin, what's your thoughts with Rox probably taking a little bit more of a handle on things over the next couple of weeks?
The Haggis squad has always been a bit, I won't say up and down. I mean, there's always been a couple of surprises in there just because Rob's involvement in it. And currently it's no different. They have the wall of DMCs there. I'm not sure how much creativity is actually in there, but it's I mean, it's early days, yeah. We'll see how they get on, but it looks as if that Giggs is still their main man. I looked at the transfer dealings before the show tonight, and I was thinking, I mean, did they bring anything in, like in terms of creativity? And it was really only like Easy Gonzalez and the other the young German guy, Deisler, the two, and they actually came from Gazelles, both of them. Both of them, I mean, young, and I don't know, Deisler. I mean, is he the solution? I mean, he's had a good start for sure. He's had a good start for sure, but I feel as if they're still relying a little bit heavily on Giggs. But I mean, not a bad player to rely on, to be honest. So yeah, they've got a strong squad, and they should be in contention.
A lot of love for an Edwards design in the background there, Martin. I can't quite make out which one it is. Is that one of Edwards's works in the background?
It's a custom Diego Maradona that I've put up for the just for the evening.
Excellent. That is effort and a half, and Jens spotted it straight away. On to the Badgers, and Tato does things his own way. This looks a lot more conventional. If we were looking for one way to sum Tato's period in the Super League, it will probably be inconsistent. Is this the 11 in the shape to put together a run of results for Badgers, do you think?
I mean, it's worth a try. He does love a bit of asymmetric stuff and a couple of, not exactly tried and tested names, but it seems as if this formation definitely is capable of giving you results. I mean, he's got good names all over the place, to be honest. I mean, with the front three, sorry, with I think Eimar's in there, so he's not front three really because he plays at MC, but Eimar, Luis Enrique, and Ruud van Nistelrooy. The fact that I think they have like one or is it one goal they've scored so far this season,
Yeah.
Badgers? I think it's not a lot, is it?
Yeah, not for all that talent as well. And
It's, it's,
I'm more. I,
It's
I
not an
think
awful lot they've scored. So, I mean, it's fine to keep clean sheets and all of that. But with those three names up front, I would have thought they'd had at least another goal or two to their names this season.
Yeah, and I think classic Tato, if you kind of clip off this to the right, it looks like a really solid, 10, and then you get YL Riyadh as a DML on the left-hand
Randomly,
side.
Rayard is
It's almost
on
like
his
you
left
can't
hand.
resist the temptation to do something a little bit mental. But
What does he have?
that's
What
that's
options does he have on that left wing back that aren't Rayard? He must have
I mean,
something, doesn't
it's
he?
Zendin sitting there. Not much has he? He's probably that's a really good point. Martin actually, he looks a little bit shy on that DML, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Really,
he
really
doesn't have
shy.
a. I
Is
think
that
we
because he
think when Dan first came in, when I had the Gazelles, I think we played Sandin out there a couple of times, and he did well on his debut, I think, and maybe one other game. So he can play there, but maybe Rayad will do a job for him anyway. So I mean,
just
it's
yeah? Go on, sorry.
no, I was gonna say hopefully there'll be some goals in this one for both sides.
Yeah, I was just saying. Tato obviously shipped in on Gio Bronckhorst, which probably would have made that left-hand side feel a hell of a lot different had he have been there instead of YL Riyadh. Martin, first prediction of the night from you. Hopefully goals. I think this could be game of the night. Any predictions?
Look, I think it's a score draw. I'm gonna say score draw, one or two. I mean, I would say two each. Let's go for two each and hope that we hope we get off with some excitement to start the
Some
evening.
excitement tonight. Yeah, Rob is our glorious leader, the resurgent Rob Sloth, who has won back to back for the first time in about 40 years. Goes for 1-1. Mega Horse goes for a Desmond, and Dimble predicting that at some point the Badgers have got to start scoring. Casillas saves to Luis Enrique, saying his name in a couple of times there. Early doors, Deisler, Martin gave him a shout out early doors, saying he'd started pretty well. There's Giggs, massive, massive player. Tristan with a chance, and now a lot of blue and black rather than black and blue. Another free kick, and Casillas again with another save, a free kick, a corner, another corner, a lot of blue and black. And it looks as though Haggis are doing a fair few tactical fouls in here, approaching half time. Badgers go another 45 minutes without a goal, it looks as though, and a booking for Nicky Butt. Giggs with a chance just before half time. And the stats tell a little bit of a different story compared to the text, Martin.
Yeah, based on the text, I thought that Badgers had at least Atlas had at least three or four attempts, but apparently not. it's not been the most entertaining first half, but I mean, it looked a little bit more fun than the stats would have suggested.
Yeah, Tato going as is until 60. I think it's probably the right move that he's held his nerve there. Although whether or not when he sees that Enrique is on a 5 in that AMC position, it's interesting. Those two AMs, both Agahawa and Enrique, are not really doing much because of those three DMs of Haggis, and I think it'll be a case of what gives between those 5 players in that space. Martin, anything you'd be kind of radically doing or looking at from those Badger stats as the search for a goal?
No, I think you make a good point there, Doug, and it's difficult with that with the three DMCs. I mean, it can really lot of stifle the opponents with if you have that kind of control in that area. Luis Enrique and Nakahau are definitely not the best AMCs in the game either, so it is a little bit of a lopsided competition there for that. But I think what does he want to go with? Morientes for Tristan.
Yeah, Morientes for Tristan. Really interesting that both of those Badgers wing backs are getting absolutely nowhere near the ball with Haggis having Giggs and Daislav on the opposing wings. It looks as though there's only really one winner in that battle of the width at the minute. So it'll be interesting to see if he does anything at 60. Let's see if we can get a Badgers goal. Another free kick, and Giggs there backing it again. And there is Paul Scholes. Nobody's picking up the runs of Paul Scholes from midfield, and it's 1-0 to the Haggis boys. Van Nistelrooy hits it over Deisler, and there is a chance over the wing for Haggis. 1-0 Haggis. Badgers need to do now what they haven't done all season and score 2. If you are Haggis Martin, are you doing anything dramatically different, or is the system working here?
Oh, I'm rolling with this one. There's nothing interesting on the. I mean, you could put Figo in for a laugh, but no, I would just roll. There was no fitness concerns, and you're up 1-0. So no, I'd roll if I was Neil. I presume he will, unless he's in arrow amending mood.
Generally, what's your thoughts on Figo? He's one of them that kind of divides opinion. A lot of people think they're kind of a bit like Zidane. They're going to be the people that kind of win him round. Any thoughts on Figo?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the expectations you've got to him. I mean, he's probably going to get you like what, maybe 5, 6, 7 goals or something like that in a season if you play him regularly. If you're happy with that,
Mm.
then I guess that's okay.
Yeah. Badgers, I think the interesting thing for me, seeing that half-time stat about how little of the ball Emerton and Riyad are going, is does he push them up a little bit further and try to play a flat four across the middle? Dimble making the comment that Scholes has been sneakily good for a while now. I think he absolutely has. Dragons tried to make a move for Scholes a couple of weeks back and got nowhere. Absolutely understandable why. We'll just give Tato a couple of minutes. Martin, anything you're doing here?
Just throw it out and start from scratch. I don't know. It's frustrating when you sit down and you put together a good squad and you're thinking, this is definitely going to be doing something. So I was never a huge fan of Emerson. I don't know if I would have swapped him and Aymar and played Aymar a bit further up. I mean, played
Yeah.
Aymar and Rayad at the ML and MR, and then put Emerson in the middle maybe. I think he can. I think that would probably be what I would have done to start with. But we'll see what he says here.
Can you just keep me right on this, please, my man, if you could? Enrique for Viduga, Riyad for Vlahovic, and go 3 up top. Move to a 2-1-4-0-3. I'm guessing it's that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Teo, can you just let us know if there's any arrows on your wingers, or if you're happy with that half diagonal or it's a full diagonal on Imar? Please,
Watson
if
is
you would.
right in the middle, hasn't he? Surely. I don't know.
Arrows on wide men, brilliant. And then if you just let us know if there's any preference on your position of your front three, it's a good spot, that Martin. If Badgers don't score, it would be 1 goal in about 450 minutes of football,
Naja, naja.
which is pretty damning.
Yeah, it's not ideal for them, but I mean, let's see. 28 minutes left of the game. Maybe they can get something here. It should if they can get the ball past the three DMCs, then there should be plenty of opportunity for the front guys there.
Yeah, hopefully we see a couple more goals. We wanted to start off, and that's not what Tato wanted to see, although there's a straight swap there in Gustavo Lopez, who can play on the left-hand side. Probably not the worst injury for him to get. If it had been Aymar or Good Johnson, then he maybe would have been struggling. So Tato, if you can just confirm that you're happy with that. Lopez on, lovely, and we roll.
Should be fine.
and Haggis go for the jugular. And just as we say that, it's Fernando Morientes, I think, with his first goal for Haggis, that looks to give them the 3 points. Aymar denied in a corner kick. Haggis looking so solid at the minute. Better than the first half. 5 minutes added on. We're not going to slow it down. And there is
Oh my
Morientes
goodness.
again. Badgers have went to try and claw 2 goals back. And there is a goal for Vlahovic. Too little, too late. And what looked to be a pretty dominant win for the Haggis boys. Martin, any thoughts?
Yeah, it was good. It was an exciting game at the end. Reminiscent of very early Leddersford, I think, when Hodgie had Morientes as well, and he banged in a ton of goals. I mean, along with some other Spanish folk, if I recall correctly. I
Yeah,
think it's brave and a very good idea to bring Morientes in now because his stats will really benefit from this, from getting game time. Yeah, I think it's a good decision for them to bring him in. The DMC line is the other thing I'm just checking. Gomez an 8, Michelini a 9. Who's the last? There's another
uh,
fella in there somewhere. I forget
where is
their
he? Who
names.
was the third one? Paulino
Paulinho
Santos, this lad.
Santos on a 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's well, no need to blow smoke up their asses with that. So
I think the other thing I would
we
probably
can
add
move
for that
on.
analysis, as always, proper spot on. But Morientes is exactly the type of player that you want being fed by Ryan Giggs in terms of stats. I think if Giggs can supply Morientes with chances, he'll put them away for the most of the season. Badgers, little bit same old, same old. We've seen them make big moves in the transfer market, and at the minute it's not really paying off. Any advice from kind of Tato, as someone who's probably been here, seen it, and done
As
it
someone
twice?
who's also been shit at the game, yeah, I've got plenty. No, no. I mean, I'd save. I was gonna save my like. Let's not try anything interesting for the Asta game, but the same goes for Tato. I mean, Rayad and Kimona, whatever his name is, the other one they have. I mean, you start by dropping them, and then, I mean, I don't know to be honest. I don't know. I don't have good advice to people who aren't doing particularly well because
Yeah,
neither was I.
yeah, yeah. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'm very honest of you. We're on to now Vikings versus Fulchester Phoenix, and much like the days when me and your good self might have came up to head to head. There's a little bit of that old Super League needle in this Vikings and Fulchester game. Ryan loves to kind of, or certainly has really enjoyed giving Jens a bit of stick over the years, and this is a good opportunity for Jens to kind of put shush to that. Vikings, I think, Martin, I don't know what you thought from watching it, but I think they've been very, very good and very, very unlucky. I think they are a side that could really, really challenge this year. Any thoughts on this Vikings tactic and squad?
No, I agree. They were unlucky not to have had more points so far this season. I mean, obviously they got the W last time out against White Rose, but they almost had to, didn't they? So, squad is good. It kind of breaks my heart to see Justin Walker involved in anything, but I mean, he got the goal, so I can't really, be too harsh on him. Um, Interesting names. Impensa definitely in there. Nice to see Big John C getting a game for the Norwegians. I think he's got both kind of arrows as well, hasn't he? So
Yeah,
he could eventually play them. No, it's a strong squad. I like the tactic as well. It's similar to Mac who played that one for a while as well, didn't he? So yeah, nice to see a bit of variation. It's not the same one. And Jens does like to come up with different things as well. I mean, I think we all remember Jens's first tactic when he first took over Coast Vikings. He's adapted to the Super League. Let's put it that way.
yeah, definitely one of those managers whose kind of trajectory has only been upwards. He's definitely. I think Swan had a stat that he's going to be one of the 4 or 5 managers to have qualified for consecutive. I think 4. Jens will put us right in the chat. 4 consecutive playoffs if he does it this season. I think something like that, which is impressive. Interestingly, Robin doesn't get a place on the bench or the 11. The Justin Walker kind of comment, is that because you don't rate him and don't think he should be anywhere near the Super League, or
It's a little bit like Rayad and what's his name? Richie Wellens and these
steady?
kind of fellas. I I don't know. I don't know. I just if you're struggling, I mean, it's fair enough for Jens now because he isn't struggling. I mean, it's just bad luck, and Walker
Mm.
scored last time out, so no issue there. But that would be the first place I would look if my team wasn't performing. But obviously, can't really say that for Vikings at the moment because Walker's done a decent job there.
Yeah, just a quick question from Rocks. Can I confirm as per Fulchester that we can drop more players into the reserves? Yeah, I don't see any issue with players being dropped into reserves. Rocks, if you want to just drop them in and trapdoor them out. Fulchester Phoenix, Martin, a fella that you've streamed with, that you've watched play the game over the years. Now he's back in the dugout. They've started really well. They've only really been humbled once, and that was against the rampant East Coast. Any thoughts on this Phoenix 11?
Yeah, I mean, he's been around for a while, hasn't he, Ryan? Um, as long as some, longer than most. It's a good mix. I'm not sure what Gravison is doing in there, but never mind. But it's a good mix of names. I think he knows what his plan is. Yeah, he gets proven players in a tactic that he thinks will work relatively well, and then hopefully he's just going to be for him. He's just going to be repeating what he did the last time that he was managing in the league. It's a good start. Yeah, it's a difficult game, the East Coast one, but he's already tweaked the squad to his own liking, I think, and yeah, it's definitely a contender. I would probably say top three.
Yeah, both managers
However,
at the top. Yeah.
yeah, however, I will go for. I do think that Vikings, with the momentum that they have from that first win of the season, I do think they will pick up a 1-0 win tonight, though.
1-0 Vikings, says Martin. And interestingly, the two managers that are top both going for three, their third star. But there is Hernan
Well,
Crespo, of course. That'll sting just that little bit more for Jens because he had a nightmare with Crespo for a long, long time where he didn't really get the best out of him. Fulchester in that silver and black strip, which is a lot more friendly than the Vikings home strip. Lots of yellow cards, it feels like, but Vikings coming back into the game. Looks as though Phoenix have got it mostly on the counter attack, although a little bit more ball that they've got there. 3 minutes at a time, and then out of nowhere, with nothing much happening, we get to half time. Looked to be a bit of a kind of scrappy game, Martin, with not much happening at either end, but lots happening in the middle of the pitch and lots of fouls.
yeah, lots of fouls and it's sort of an early lucky strike for Colchester there. Crespo getting the opener, and then it's kind of evened itself out after that with both teams having a fair dig and not being super accurate in terms of their finishing. Nothing really to note here at halftime. Klumpe obviously the standout on late in the defense.
Yeah, and Jens, kind of torrid time with keepers, does seem to kind of pop its head up every now and again. Fulchester looking as though they had kind of control of the game at times defensively, but not much going forward, and they're probably passing stats from those players that are involved at the kind of middle to top third of the pitch reflecting that. Jens, if you could let us know what you'd like to do. I haven't seen Ryan in the chat. I'll just give him a couple of minutes, and Jens is rolling to 60 anyway. Martin, just while we're waiting to see if Ryan pops up, in terms of the teams this year, obviously people much fancy Northern Burn, but who's the team that's kind of surprised you this year so far?
I mean, it has to be Swan and the Stanley side. I mean, he's gone with a really really good start. It's not because he doesn't. I don't think he knows what he's doing, but no one really knew what to expect. Having said that, though, Scott historically has a good start to the season. Oh, that's Vieri opening that. Opening his
And
account. Maybe he had one already. Oh my goodness, Naya.
yeah, that's 2-0 to Fulchester Phoenix. And so we'll go to Jens first because he's in the chat. But yeah, I agree. I think Swan actually has a start that's something like no team has ever started as well as Bostock as an average points over the last 4 seasons, but no team has also never finished worse. So
Yeah,
he's
I
kind
have
of
seen that.
starting in typical Bostock style, but hopefully
Yeah,
I think we'd all love it for Swanee to be in the mix come the end of the season. Um,
for sure,
Jens,
for
there's
sure.
your condition. Did you see his stats today, Martin, on percentage of if you're in the top 6 after 4 games and if you're in the bottom 4 after
Yeah,
four
yeah, yeah,
games? He
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
takes
yeah,
it the
yeah.
next level, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he brings his homework with him, doesn't he? It is, as I can work out, it is his job doing this kind of statistical stuff. So, I mean, you have to, otherwise, I don't think you can really do it at that level if you just do it for a laugh. So, but no, it's good for us, good for everyone to watch. Are Jens
Yeah,
doing anything to this, or is he gone into
he's
the snow?
just
Oh
made
no,
a
there is
quick
something here.
change there. So Hosaba for Mike Duff, Romeo for Carew, and that's it. Thanks. And I'll just pull Fulchester stats up so Ryan can have a look at what they were doing at 60 when he watches this back. I think he's at a gig tonight. And we go, unless there's reds or injuries, we go to full time. Let's see. And Penza. And there is a goal with Fabio Cannavaro, who's been in unbelievable form. I think that is his third goal in 4 games. And Romeo Frey berates the defence, 2 goals in 2 minutes. What changes this is from the Vikings. And there is the turnaround. And it's offside. Wow. Romeo has came on and absolutely turned the game around. And Martin is somebody who is a non-streaming chair. This is probably where I need your input here, mate. What do you think we should be doing? I would be saying with the game 2-2, and I'll let you suggest first, mate. What would you be doing? Yeah, what do you think?
It doesn't really. Yeah, it does have Trotton on the bench, but I mean, I'd just go central with Gravison, to be honest. I
Yeah,
don't think he. I mean, I don't think it makes. I don't think. I mean, you don't want to. You could take off Riquelme for Proton, but then you kind of and move Nedved back, but or take off a striker. But I mean, nah, he's got 3 wins under his belt already. He's not going to sit back and try and defend this one, is he? I mean, it's Ryan,
yeah.
but
I think the only thing I could have maybe suggested is if one of the strikers hadn't scored, maybe pull one off and put Prutton as a second DMC. But I look, unless he kind of pops up in the chat and tells us otherwise in a second, I think that is the least destructive to what his actual tactic was in the first place, if that makes sense.
and
Kind of
he's
least
still and he's
interfering.
still and he's still and he's still lining up like 1 for 1 against the. They only have
Mm,
2 strikers and one AMC on, so that
yeah.
should be okay. I think that's what I would go with.
Yeah, I haven't seen Ryan in the chat, so we will go. But what a substitution that is from Jens! What a substitution that is from Jens! And let's see if they can put the Phoenix to the sword. It's all red and blue, but there is Crespo. Wouldn't it be a sickener if he was to get the winner? And Penza's had more than a couple of chances and has put every single one of them wide. And it goes from bad to worse for Phoenix. I think that's probably Davy Prutton just coming on the right hand side.
Yeah, yeah, it's got to be.
And that is a red, and that goes really, really quickly, actually. That is a red Zanetti's already had, and now an injury. So we will see how that goes. Vikings really came into it in that second half. Credit to Jens for those substitutions, and a lot of yellow cards for the Phoenix kind of shows how much they were up against it. Anything standing out massively in text or in stats there for you from the Vikings, Martin, mate?
No, I think it's kind of similar to the first 3 Vikings game of the season. They probably should have won. They probably should have won this one as well. I mean, considering, I mean, it's fair enough they were down 2-0, but with those changes and the way that the second half panned out, there was a disallowed goal, wasn't there? A second one
Yeah.
for Romeo had one disallowed as well. So the injury, the red card, and all of this. I mean, I did look at them. I think Simeone and Stam were both at a yellow at half time. I mean, I'm not saying that he would have made a substitution there, but it did look a little bit
Mm,
concerning.
mm.
Yeah, interesting, interesting game, and an 8th man of the match.
Yeah, that's Fifey always says, doesn't he? If an eight gets man of the match, then it's been a pretty poor game. But I actually really
It was
enjoyed
fun
that game.
though.
I thought credit
Me too.
credit to both managers. I thought that was really enjoyable. Let's just have a little look at the fixtures because I know some people got plans tonight, so I kind of posted where we would go just to kind of give people a chance to dip in and out and know where we were at as a show. Martin, I'm not going to say much. What's your thoughts?
I mean, this is an old Alf Bridge kind of uh, tactic, as I recall. Although I think he did something strange with the arrows on the AMCs, but it's similar to that anyway. I mean, narrows they come and go. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I'm not sure that Davids and Gattuso are the players that are the right guys for that. I think you need the like Andreas did back in the old Valen days. I think he had Cafu and Lisa Rasu maybe on the other one. If you
Yeah.
do that, then it can definitely work. I think you need some more creative guys out there. But I mean, that's overall I think for Celtic. I think that uh he's taken a gamble, hasn't he, with just a couple of creative players and a couple of okay strikers. I know it's the club identity of Loco and now Celtic, but it's a bit of a risk, and they've obviously only scored 2 this season, so it's a tricky one. But
Yeah,
they've got three home games coming up now, so now is as good as time as any for them to start getting some results.
yeah. I think one of the kind of consensus amongst the league this season was that Greaves' squad was going to be littered with quality for the kind of back two thirds, but the worry was those up front. I think Del Piero's been really good so far for him in terms of being amongst things happening quite a lot. But this is almost, 1-0s and 1-0s and 1-0s. That feels very Greavesy, those results. But actually he's on the
Mm-hmm.
wrong end of them for a change, just edging games by one, not dominating, not necessarily being out of them, but just dominating them. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, he's on the wrong end. So we go to Bostock, Swanley. I think everybody's second team this season, Martin. What do you reckon?
It's got to be, hasn't it? I mean, with the popularity of the man in charge, and the amount of work that he puts into the league, it's got to be everyone's second team, hasn't it? Really. And as we spoke about already, I mean, they usually come off to a good start, Bostock, and he's got a solid tactic there. It's worked out well from him defensively. Unlucky to concede even against Astor. They could have had like 4 games with 4 clean sheets so far. It's a very strong starting 11. The squad depth maybe a little bit so, but the starting 11 are definitely strong, and he's bookended by Oliver Kahn and by Montella up top, isn't he? So it's it's very it's very strong, and he knows what he's doing. So it's going to be tricky for Celtic as well to get anything out of this. I like the long arrows on Bauman and Dyer.
Yeah, I think that's easily up there with the top two wing back pairing in the league, and we know how important wing backs are. Interestingly, Gerrard dropped despite having scored two last game. I know Swan really does like Hakan Mild. Martin, any predictions for this? This is probably one of those games where we think it's absolutely going to go one way, but Super League sometimes has other ideas.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, on paper, it should be the way that Bostock have started. I mean, I struggle to see Celtics getting a goal against them, so I was going to go 1-0 away win here, but it's obviously going to be a goal fest now, isn't it?
1-0 to either side, I think, probably feels like it. Oh, and that's a penalty. And there is Del Piero, who Greavesy has pilled a lot of hopes on this season. I was just about to say, if we had Greavesy on comms, I would be asking him whether, because of that spine of Bostock that is conceded so few, whether this narrow tactic is a deliberate response to that, to kind of really try and control the game. It looks to be a lot of green and pink, and then red and white, and then Montella scores and actually hits the woodwork not too far after. And there is Tomazzi,
Oh my
and there
goodness.
is the lead for Tortuga Celtics. And just as we said, sometimes the champ gods have other ideas. And bar a spell between kind of 30 to 40 minutes or so, I actually think Celtics looked the better team them on.
Yeah, unexpected. I mean, he obviously, as you say there, maybe it is a response to the core of the Bostock Stanley team that he's put out an arrow formation, and it's worked out well. Happy to see that Tomasi, who I said can't play there, score. Oh no, he's in the center, isn't he? It's Gattuso who's got the arrow out to the right. No, yeah. Anyway, so Tomasi is okay. No, Del Piero, I think key player. Key is maybe a strong word, but certainly a contributor for Bern before the most recent iteration. I think he had some good games there as well. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Oliver Kahn, uh, I sing his praises. I mean, on paper, he is the best Super League keeper. He's the best keeper in the game by far in the first couple of seasons. But yeah, I mean, you never know with keepers, do you? So it's just how it is.
Having had him at Dragons in the last draft build, rebuild, whatever you want to call it, and Andy was appalling for Dragons to the point where I was like, release him. He's been so bad that first season for
Mm.
Dragons, but that might have been more to do with myself, Wooder, and Hopkins, and our first season as a three, more than Oliver Kahn, God bless him. I haven't seen Greavesy in the chat, and also Swan is struggling with kind of childhood family illness. So Swanee, we got your message and we send you a lot of love, especially the young lads, and we'll crack on to see if Bostock Swanley can get back into this. Again, a lot of green and pink, and there is the third. Oh, oh, how big could that be? Disallowed on 55 minutes. That could be absolutely massive. Although it looks as though there's a lot of pink and gold. And there is Koloshaks, who just misses the chance. We pause at 62 minutes on a Bostock Swanley corner. But again, I haven't seen the lads in the chat. So all I'll do is I'll just pull up the ratings and kind of condition and how they're doing. And I think, Martin, unless I've...
Has he got a natural replacement for Rosicky? I think he's down at like 70% fitness though, and on a 6.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying that we should make the swap, but
yeah,
I don't know what that person is. Kerry. I mean, that is a very obvious. I mean, we can see if Bostock has a. I don't know what the rules are. I think that would be a fair swap. He's clearly injured, so I have no idea what Håkan Mild is doing in that position. By the way, that's then a different
yes,
story.
especially over Gerrard. It's a weird one, that, isn't it? Because essentially you're asking him to play MC, but anytime Stanley have got the ball, you're asking him to be an AMC. I think, Martin, what I would hate if Greavesy was behind, I would have probably said, "Yep, let's make the change." But what I would hate is to make it, and then he loses points as a result. So if it's okay with you, I think we roll as is with both managers not being here. Is that all right?
Indeed. Yeah. No, it's fine. We'll pull him if he gets injured, like proper injured.
Okay, so you've got half an hour left, and clinical Bostock Stanley. There is an injury, and that could be an absolutely massive injury to Kieran Dyer. I think Gerrard as a DMRC probably makes the most sense if you just keep the shape as is. Lovely. Let's see if that makes a difference. Another offside for Celtics. You feel as though there might be a sucker punch coming here for Bostock Swanley, who have not been in the game that much, but actually only find themselves a goal behind. Can Celtics do what Greavesy does best and see out a 1-goal win? A lot of red and white as we finish. And there is Davids from that DMC going into left wing. Who are we to challenge and question that as a move?
I didn't see that coming.
I know. And just as we said at the start, sometimes the game has other ideas. Alessandro Del Piero, massive for Celtics this season if they're to do anything. And that is probably just about as good a performance as you're going to see. An assist, a goal, and actually central to everything that the system did. Greavesy masterstroke, Martin?
Looks like it. Did not see that one coming at all. I mean, he'll be delighted with that. I'm not sure if Rosicky is even his first choice in that place or in that position. Maybe he is, but it might be out next time out. But apart from that, overall, it was a super strong performance. I think it did look as if Bostock were going to come back into it in the last sort of 20-30 minutes, but they got the vital third goal, and obviously we didn't see anything else from the Bostock side. So back to the drawing board for Mr. Swan and the boys there. I mean, it was a great record to have, only having conceded one, but that's obviously gone now. So, but yeah.
And Dimble's just made a point that it's a massive win for the Celtics, and I absolutely agree. At this stage of the season, that just kind of frames everything a little bit differently, doesn't it? That, puts some real pressure on Steve and Dragons and Asta. They're almost playing in a 6-pointer tonight. Celtics go up to 6, and as good as Stanley have been, that only puts them 2 points behind them. So it's all to play for this side of the season, and there's no kind of final stories written yet. We go over to a side that I think are going to be right amongst it this season if Hodgie's able to kind of sustain the interest. I think this for me is a top 2, top 3 squad, Casuals, and I'm guessing that you probably feel the same, Martin.
Yeah, depending on how many game hefts he's gotten so far, that could impact his individual stats. I can't remember what they look like if they are developing. Maybe a little bit early, but having said that, 775 and 2 goals in the first 4, that is pretty solid. So that's the only one where I would say, maybe he could upgrade a little bit there. The rest is spot on. I mean, it's players that we've seen that could definitely do it. I mean, sort of Chinsky has been great for Hodgie sides over the years, and I think Sylvester and Turam is a good pairing at the back as well.
Yeah, just the one change for Hodgie Cambiasso in for the suspended Olivier Dacour, and you're absolutely right in what you're saying. Sorochinsky and Patasoglu are 2 players that when you say Hodgie, you kind of automatically think of those 2 players, I think. They play tonight against the resurgent Robert Sloth, who are undefeated in 3. and their only defeat this season comes against the much fancied East Coast. They are solid and they're scoring and they're not conceding many. What on earth is happening, Martin?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, he's not like deliberately sabotaged anything this season, I think. He still has players that I wouldn't really expect to see. Like, I think it was mentioned, was it 1 or 2 weeks ago, that it's like the terrible trio who could never score for Hackers, Shevchenko and Brosek and Saha. I think they all struggled at Hackers either at the same time or at separate occasions. I'm not entirely sure, but seems to be okay. He's playing Brosek even though he's got on 90% fitness. I mean, it's a strong Candela, Salihamidzic. It's a strong squad. It's a very strong squad. There's been no like weird and wonderful selling of players for no reason. So yeah, he's doing well. I don't know if he's taking it seriously, but he's doing well this season for sure.
And almost as if we said we don't know why Rob Sloth's doing any different this year, Tato says this game is such a random fucking spreadsheet. The sooner I realise that, the better. Think on the back of that Celtics result, but that's why we all love it. We love the chaos. Any predictions here, Martin?
I wrote something. A draw, apparently. Yeah, I think there'll be goals in this one. I'm going to say 2-2 for this one. A good
I
old
mean, this would
Desmond.
be a real marker down if maybe not if PPP can get something against this casual side. There is Clivert, who looks to be probably turning into this season what everybody has hoped he would be for a long, long time. Casuals with the lead, but Brozek still coming forward for PPP. Hersey, Clivert again with another chance. The wing backs involved for PPP, another yellow card and a corner. Brozek again central to everything that PPP are doing well in this game. Another chance and an indirect free kick. Buffon saves. And there is a massive, massive injury for the casuals. I haven't seen Hodgie in the chat because I think he messaged us saying he can't make either. So I would say he made this substitution the other night against Dragons. I think Ronaldo is the placement there.
Yeah, I think that is. I think that's the obvious one.
And we'll get to half time. I can see that Rob has already said he's going to go as is, but we'll just, and there is two. Oh, that could be
Ooh.
massive. An offside goal just before half time. The game's stats are saying that PPP have been the better side, but it felt a lot of black and orange.
Yeah, I felt as if Casuals had this one under control. I think I said like the third or the fourth disallowed goal of the evening as well, isn't it? Who is Costa? Nah, anyway, he could be doing better, whoever he is. Yeah, I
Joe
mean,
Costa, sorry. I think he was Porto, wasn't he? Yeah, Porto centre half. I think he won the Champions League with them.
true. Yeah. No, I know who he is. So it's just I didn't expect to see him. Anyway, no, very good half from Casuals. Very good first half from Casuals. See Roberto with the assist there. Yeah, and Clivert, as you mentioned, if we can get a good Clivert, then you're definitely in with a shout. I mean, we need more of these kind of like 15, 16, 18 goal a season strikers, to be honest, in the league.
Absolutely. I think there's probably three you'd name off the top of your head, and beyond that, you would probably struggle. Really, I think there's not much quality beyond that, not much consistent quality beyond that. And there again, the AMC on the other side, the two players that have really been massive for each side have come a cropper. Not sure what Rob does here. Does he go with another MC and go three in the middle with maybe some arrows? What would you be doing here, Martin?
Maybe put Superman, Richie Wellens, put him in there. I mean, he can play anywhere, can't he? He's a cheat code. It's like David Collins, really, isn't he? Yeah, Wellens
If
straight
if
swap. You see, Rob's on board with that.
I think it's if it was me saying that, I think people would know I was serious. I'm not sure whether people in the comms are going to believe that you believe that about Richie Wellens, but yeah, come on, Richie,
I'm
get
trying to,
get the equaliser.
yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I'm trying to jinx him into actually scoring.
And we are approaching full time. We'll do the first slowdown of the night, I think, because it does feel a little bit 50-50. There is Veron, who has been quiet this season, driven low by Ronaldo and a good save by Molina. It's all casual. He get the ball and counter attack up the other end. Richard blocks it. And Candela now to Wellens. Here he is, the magic man. Oh, Silvestre gets it. So Salihamidzic, Roberto's fouled him. Can we get Wellens on a free kick? Petit delivers it in. And there is Buffon, who is so solid so often, who probably sees the win through. Dimble sees Wellens playing with you two on comms is destiny. And there is full time, and there is casuals 1, PPP 0, and a very solid casuals win, but probably not something to be too disheartened about for Rob. What do you think, Mon?
No, I don't think so. I think they could have easily come away with at least a point here. I think there's maybe one or two players let them down. They had the injury. I don't think Brozic was 100% fit from the beginning, so and he's down to 50% now. So, no, yeah, it's not the worst. It's away from home, and Casuals are a difficult side to beat. Yeah, they don't really lay down for anyone. I was surprised to see Molina actually starting, but I guess this kind of the never-ending hunt for reliable goalkeepers just goes on and on and on. So, but. Yeah, no, fair play to him. Good solid 8 there.
Absolutely. Jens making a really good point that if Kluivert gets 15, casuals get top 2 because of how few they concede, although they have conceded a few against Phoenix and Dragons in the 2 games. I would probably say it felt as though, George Costa's cost them the game there. He's not made a header, he's not made a tackle, and actually Kluivert snuck in there with the only chance and put it away. Costa's maybe went missing. So unlucky Rob, carry on, and I know there's a lot of people across the league that would like to see them do well this season. Now, this is a really interesting one, and we go over to White Rose, the struggling White Rose. Much has been spoken about Steve's transfer business and how he's doing in the league. He has been there, he's won a star. Where do you think it's went not as well as we thought it might go for White Rose this season, Martin?
It's a little bit. I mean, I'll be careful what I say here because obviously Celtic turned it around and got a 3-1 win tonight. But I put down in my notes that when I was preparing for the show that it's a little bit like was that Diego Maradona falling down? Yeah, so it was. I was thinking, what was that? Anyway,
Oh, has he fell down, has he?
yeah, poor
It's an
guy.
omen for the Gazelles game. He's had enough.
You see, yeah, blue
I think
tack's
that's
not
because
what
we
it's meant.
mentioned Richie. You said Richie Wellens' name 3 times and the wall started bleeding, I think.
That's what happens. No, I was going to
um,
say it's a little bit self-sabotage. I think some of their transfer business, to be honest, White Rose, they've left themselves with limited options again up front in an attempt to make it solid at the back. That's what it looks like to me anyway. I mean, it's the bottom 8 players have anything to offer sort of going forward, and 2 of them aren't any good. So it's tricky to see where the squad is, where he's going with the squad. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Montano, will he play? I don't know. And then he can't really play he can't play all of the strikers at the same time. So there's just not a lot. Guerrero is super injury prone. There's just not a lot of attacking stuff in there. But maybe he knows what he's doing. But the league table so far is not it's not looking too kind.
a player who was massive for Gazelles last season was Claudio Pizarro. And I said on comms a couple of times actually that I was really surprised at how good he had been. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
having had him and managed him, was that a flash in the pan, or is that actually reflective of Claudio Pizarro, or is this the Claudio Pizarro that actually is the real one that we're seeing?
I mean, 14 goals in a season. Yeah, I think if you get a good season out of Pizarro, that's what you're going to get. I think that from memory, it was a little bit sort of a flat track kind of situation where it wasn't like the super decisive goals that he got, but Dan wanted to try something else and was happy enough to ship him out. If I was looking for a guaranteed goal machine, again, depending on my tactic, I don't think I would have gotten for him with the setup that Steve has. I think from memory, Pizarro works better in very attacking minded sides. I think in Timor Shamrocks back in the day, he got like 20 odd goals or something like that. So I think that's probably more where I would be looking at. But we'll see. He could still come good for them.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'd like Steve's just got to keep chipping away, and kind of keep the faith really, because as you said, kind of 2/3 of his side is strong. It's just at that top end that maybe he's been firing a few blanks. On to Northern Burn, and what can be said that hasn't been said already about Edwards and kind of how phenomenal this squad is and everything they're doing. Suppose from me, I just need to kind of offer Edwards a little bit of an apology in front of the rest of the league. I think he wasn't particularly happy with some of my comments on Segalpo the other Friday, and I absolutely get where he was coming from. And just for clarity, me saying Segalpo shouldn't be in the next build is absolutely not dismissive in any way, shape, or form of what Edwards has done. For me, he's up there with the best in the league and up the best in Super League that we've ever had, and he's going for star number 3, so he doesn't need my approval. But yeah, apologies, Edwards, if I said anything that was out of turn. Martin, in terms of this side, is there anything you can say that hasn't already been said? Edwards goes as is, and I don't know what you'll think of this, but Tato is in charge of the burn subs tonight.
Is that right? Did we have that in writing from Mr. Edwards?
Well, I had a very early message from Tato saying that, and I didn't have anything to the contrary to tell me otherwise. So we're going to go with it, I think.
Right. Well, we'll see. Fingers crossed. Yeah. No. There's nothing else. I don't have anything to add to the Northern Burns squad. I did predict an away win here, but as we saw with Celtics and Bostock Stanley, you never know how it's going to end up.
What would you be putting a £5 free bet on here, Martin?
Oh, it's got to be Burn by 2 at least.
Burn by 2. Pizarro in amongst it there against Montero, and there's Petkovic, who I think is a really, really shrewd acquisition for Burn this year. He could be a bit pop player, or he could be massive, depending on how he performs early doors. Pizarro clean through on goal, doesn't take the chance. Segalko with a chance at the other side. Jeremy's pushed. There is Ronnie Johnson involved. It's very, very 50-50 here. First goal, going to be massive, you would think. Reeks of a Segalko 45-minute goal. Pizarro again, getting in the right areas, but not putting the chances away. And very, very quick is, wow, half time. And I don't think that's reflective of what we saw in the text at all, Martin.
I thought Rose had a couple of chances actually. Pizarro had at least one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, I wouldn't change anything if I was Steve. I don't think. I don't think that's. I don't think that's not my impression of it anyway.
Yeah, he definitely. If we look, I know Tato. Apologies, I know you'll be looking. He's going as is still 60. But if we look at actual touches of the ball, Rose have had miles more possession and definitely a few chances on comms. So that is. I mean, the game engine's just hate and stay at the minute anyway.
I know why. I know why Tato's saying that he's in charge. He's been told just to say as is, regardless of what's happening.
He's in charge, but he's not actually got the power to do anything.
True. Now I see it. I'm sorry it took me so long to work out.
Yeah, that's class. And probably after my Segalko comments, Edwards is like, "There's no chance I'm having Duggan doing anything to my team in an emergency." So yeah. Steve, you just let us know what you'd like to do there, mate. If you want to roll as is. He hasn't said anything just yet. Just a fucking hell. Didn't look that bad. Dimble.
Maybe he spotted what Dimble spotted as well. Broncos has completed 3 out of 14 passes.
Yeah, maybe he wouldn't have looked. Maybe he wouldn't have looked better at that DML for Badgers, like we said. Maybe Weil Riyadh should be in here for White Rose. Tato saying he's going asymmetric at 60 minutes. Can you imagine?
You do that, Tato, and you'll be down at Askham in Furness in the beach somewhere in an unmarked grave shortly.
Yeah, and that Maradona post, I would just burst into flames spontaneously, I think, Martin. So get the fire extinguisher on. So let me just get this right. Bojan for GVB. Where we at? Bojan for GVB. Mackay for Raul. 2 up top. Arrow CM to MC. Mackay to right FC. Does that read right to you, Martin?
Yeah, that's the same.
Lovely. Tato saying Edwards would bury me, the psychopath. And we go, and the way the night has gone, you'd think that White Rose, I was just about to say it, but there it is, the Segalko goal, 1-0, and we're at 60 minutes, so we'll just pause and we'll just show Steve first of all. Condition, Ronnie Johnson struggling, who has been a colossus for them, really. So Steve, you'd let me know if you want to do anything, and then Tato, just while Steve's deciding, there's the stats and the condition. But what would your money be on Tato saying, Martin?
I think he's going to have to say roll till the end.
I think an as is coming, and I don't think you get very many odds on this. Horse saying
both of them.
that GVB misplaced 11 passes. The rest of the team collectively only 20. So
Both of them
that's a
going
little bit
as
mad.
is. So let's see how it.
As is, both of them going as is. Thanks, I missed that from Steve. Oh, from
Oh my
nowhere.
goodness!
Julian
Ah,
Guerrero from absolutely nowhere. Must have been a free kick, I think, because we did stop. White Rose looking to steal a point, and actually, White Rose looking to win it here. It's a lot of white
oh,
and
indeed
blue.
they
There
are.
is Sigalko,
Well then,
and water is wet, and Sigalko scores what looks to be another winner for Northern Burn. Just as White Rose were looking to be into it there, Ronnie Johnson misses a header, and that is another win for Northern Burn, which second half looked a little bit more difficult than first half. Unlucky stay, and the Northern Burn machine rolls along a bit more. Any thoughts on that, Martin?
I think that White Rose came into it really well in the second half. That's something that Steve definitely needs to consider, that tactical change. I don't think Guerrero has the fitness to regularly play 90 minutes, to be honest, but I think he's come in like bursts here and there. I think maybe at PPP as well, or one of Rob's older sides. I think he had like a magnificent spell of goals and injuries. So he is a bit of a magician. He can rely on there. Tato with an absolute masterclass for Northern Burn tonight. I mean, Ian will be so pleased he's had such a competent assistant.
Yeah, I was just about. I didn't know who would get in there first with a little dig on Tato's brilliant management. But you beat me to it, and just as we thought, after the 60-minute hit and resume, it was a Guerrero direct free kick. Unlucky stay, keep your chin up, mate. You're good enough to turn it round, and well done to Northern Burn. Okay, so we reached the first of our two. The first of our two that we have an involvement in. And here's the Dragon side. We do change it up with the return of Boya. Nesta, of course, is injured. Not for as long as Ndaye, but the injuries keep rolling on for the Dragons. And we go in what is kind of like a 2-7-1 with the two up top. Any thoughts on this Dragons squad, Martin?
Everything's a 2-7-1, isn't it, these days? I think the squad is very, very strong. I think there's a lot of good players in there. I don't think you've weakened it or sabotaged it over the summer. Question mark over Keown for me, but I don't know. I mean, he's probably done all right, I guess. Um, you will probably be a little bit disappointed. I'm sure you'll agree with having the is it 3 draws out of the first 4 games,
Yeah.
especially that 3-3 one. I think Cashaw's with the like was it last minute equalizer there and the missed penalty. You insist on playing that, but he's Cypriot waiter, then yeah, you got to get burned eventually.
Hey,
No,
third
he
highest
he
goal
was
scorer last season.
yeah, he was Pizarro quality last season. No doubt, no doubt. No, I think it's a strong squad. I think done good business. It's a good mix of a couple of unknowns, not unknowns, but lesser known players and some good names. And yeah, no, it's been a you should have had more. I think
Yeah.
from the start of the season, I would have expected a little bit more in terms of points.
Yeah, I think the injuries have scuppered us. I know, there was back and forth with Fifey the other day about kind of having quality squads, but we went balls deep for Ndiaye, and he was a massive part of us. So losing him for 2 months was huge. But yeah, if a win tonight would really kind of make things feel a little bit different for us. On to Asta, who I am rooting for Mike Savage and the way he does things, and I know that you've went on record before, Martin, at saying that you think at times the Super League has got a little bit predictable in terms of formations and players. Mike Savage, I'm kind of putting words into your mouth here, but I'm guessing you're kind of liking what he's trying.
There's two sides to it. So I've complained about the predictability. I mean, I remember that the stats that Swan are doing now with the kind of numbers of where people play in the different players. I did them, I don't know, years ago and said tried something else or whatever. Yeah, but if it works, it works, and it's also not about being boring. I do like the different tactics. I would play different tactics if I was in the Super League. I think you need
Mm.
to align your expectations with that alternative doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get results. I mean, no one has won the Super League. No one has gone into the playoffs in the Super League. No one has done anything result wise in the Super League with like alternative, interesting, fantastic, amazing tactics since they. Since season 1 to 4, where the tactics that are standard now were considered, completely unusual and out of the box and strange. So I hope that he sticks with this and takes the points that he's going to get and goes, okay, maybe I don't make the playoffs, but I have a fun squad. I use interesting players. I try something a little bit different. I wish that more managers come the halfway point of the season would do that when either they were safe at the top or when they were kind of like very far from anything down at the bottom. Do different things, have a bit of a laugh, pretend it's not so serious. I mean, stand at 2-7-1 when you're 10 points away from the playoffs with 3 games to play. I mean, why? Go asymmetric or do something. So yeah, long answer to a short question.
I think it's on the money. I think it's about balance, isn't it? Let's change things up, but we all want to be competitive. Rox is saying if someone had said to me that Mark Van Bommel would play next to Cristiano Zanetti and Jeff Whitley at any point in Super League, you'd have been sectioned. And there is Ronaldinho with a goal. He's been good with the assists, but not much in terms of goals so far this season. Dragons 1-0 up, corner to Asta. Here are the Dragons coming forward again. Cafu to Philip Maniero, and there is Maniero, and it is 2-0 to the Dragons. It looks as though the Dragons are on top. Maniero skies it over the bar. I hate being on chair and comms whilst watching me own side. We get a very, very quick half time, and stats don't necessarily show it, but it felt like Dragons were a little bit on top there, Martin.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more than what the chances show. I think full control. You can see the number of passes there. I doubt that Aston will be anywhere near that in terms of actually possession. I think if you look at the action zones, maybe I don't think anyone ever clicks on action zones anymore. We used to do that all the time. Then oh well, that's even more baffling. Never mind.
Yeah, do you know what you said? You said action zones there, and I was like, "What the hell's action zones?"
What's
And then
action
remembered
zones?
it was an actual thing. So yeah, fair point. I'll pull up Asta. Looks as though he's been let down by a couple of fives there. Savage. Anything standing out for you?
No, they're not playing very well. That's what kind of stands out the most. Tariba West doing a good job. I signed Jeff Whiteley with my or Whitley. Is it Whitley or Whiteley? I can't remember. Either way,
Whitley, I
signed
think.
him with
Yeah.
my Berry Town team, season 4. He's doing a good job there. But yeah, I didn't expect to see him in the Super League either. But he's not bad. He doesn't have bad stats, so I guess. Is he going to
Yeah.
do anything at halftime? I doubt it. Maybe roll till 60 and then do it. But I don't know. Let's see what he comes up with. He is in the
Yeah.
chat,
We're,
so.
we're going to go as is, and so is Savage. So we crack on until 60. Asta with Bergkamp there, look to have half a chance, gets over the halfway line, comes past Keown. Here is Lizarazu with Maniero to Cafu. Asta retain possession, but there is Constantino, and there is 3. And it looks as though for the first time in a while, the Dragons might be putting some chances away, just kind of trying to keep an eye on this as well as get to 60. And 4 with a booking as we reach 60 minutes, and 4 from Elethropoulos, beg your pardon. But a 4 from the keeper isn't going to help things for Asta. And there's your condition, and there's your match rating, Savage, and just let me know if you want to do anything, mate. We'll just hang on for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll come up with something, but that's not it.
Yeah,
Keeper on a 4, what can
he's
you
just said
do?
keeper on a
Yeah,
4. What can you do? Yeah, I think we got Victor Bayer in the semi-final v Dimble last season. He's only 5. He's the only time all season he got lower than a 6 was in that game, and Dimble beat with 2
yeah.
0. What can you
They do
do?
have a big game. They do have a big game stat, don't they? Players. One of the hidden attributes is a big game.
Yeah, just while I make the changes, Eto for Zanetti. Where's this? Eto for Zanetti. Move Eto MC. Perez up to AMC. If that was anybody else, I'd be doubting that was right. But I think that's right from Savage.
That's it.
What's your kind of thoughts on the kind of background scouting, editor, that sort of stuff? What's your thoughts on that? Savage, can you just confirm that that's absolutely what you want, please, mate? Martin, what's your thoughts on kind of like
Um,
the editor and all that sort of stuff?
I don't have a bone to pick in the fight, to be honest. I'd rather not. Um, I said to email. Okay. I'd rather not, to be honest. If it was me, I'd rather just. I mean, Do you need it to win? I don't know. Does it give you an advantage? Maybe it does. I mean, I think he wants them centralized as well. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think it helps you in the transfers. I think if you go into the actual, and I think that's what some people have a problem with, me possibly included, but I'm not managing the league, so it's not my fight. But some people will go in and see all of the hidden stats and uncapped 20s and all this kind of stuff. And will it give them an advantage in the transfer market? Yes. Is it an unfair advantage? I mean, everyone's free to do it if they want, but for me, it's not really in the spirit of things. But there's a lot of things in the Super League that isn't in the spirit of things, according to me. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. It's open to everyone. If they want to, they can. So
Yeah, I think it's probably one of them. More of us have been pushed to do that in a kind of desire to probably do well. Jens, I think the point that you make about taking away the fun is a fair one. I think the mystery of it. I know that's something Maka believes, and I kind of hear you, Martin. 4-0 Leicester full time, but not really as dominant as the stats would suggest. Maybe just a case of Aston not taking their chances. Unlucky Savage, lots of fives. Wow.
yeah, it was a terrible game for them. Terrible game for Astor. I mean, yeah, there's not really a lot to say there. They're on a poor run of form, and they need some home games, and they need to put the players in their sort of prime positions and see if they can pick up a point or two, because otherwise it's going to be one of those 0 points kind of seasons where the chairman has to go every week and go, oh yeah, I know oh yeah, oh, whenever it was Devils or BTEG or Stee or whoever it was that was stuck at the bottom, and if Dudley or whatever, and you had to be polite
Yeah.
and sort of not trying to demoralize people too much. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Savage continuing to do something. If he doesn't mind, then I would like to see him continue doing like half baked crazy things. Get Brooking and Rui Costa in with those kind of triangular arrows like Alf used to do in with the striker. So do something different. It's not bad, but
Yeah. Just
it's a
just as
tough
you were
gig
just as
away
you
to
were
Dragons.
just as you were talking there, I was just trying to kind of unpick because I mean that is not a 4-0 score. Never is that a
Mm,
4-0
mm, mm.
score. Keepers let him down, but actually it just looks as though Dragons have got shots on target, I think. Unlucky Savage, mate. Keep doing what you're doing because I absolutely love it. And we get to the last game of the night, which is your mighty Gazelles. So we talked at the start of the night around this, but in terms of, I understand this was a Dan team submitted, and then when we said we were going to do the bonus show, he'd already submitted. So would you have done anything radically different to what Dan's done here?
No, not really. Out of respect for Dan, I mean, I would insist on playing Rivaldo all the time, but I know that Rui Costa obviously had a strong impact. We can't drop Seedorf. I don't think Rivaldo does anything in that role where Dalmad is, so I would have probably kept it. I would have done something different with the arrows. I will do something different with the arrows if we're losing at half time, but we'll leave it for like that for now.
And who's in this squad that you and Dan have assembled? Who's the star man for you? I know it was Pizarro last season. Mendieta has been very very good, but who's the kind of star guy?
I mean, I don't know if there is this. It's got to be Fabian Barthez all the time. I mean, he's the one who who won us games last season, and he's the one who's going to win us games this season. There's no doubt about it. The rest is like a supporting cast, really. I do really hope that some of the lesser fancied players will get some goals. I mean, Tamudo is an odd one, but I do love him, and I hope that he can score. And then Seedorf hopefully will come good with all of his assists as he did in the past for Gazelles in the previous iteration. Defenders I don't really care about, but those guys I'm happy with.
Yeah, I'm just had one eye on the baby monitor there as my little girl starts to just scramble for a dummy. So hopefully she just puts it in her mouth. Cosmos, the indomitable Cosmos, who are solid front to back. They make a change today with Vogel stepping up to MC in the absence of someone who's been very, very good for them in that MC role, Mark Kerr, who is suspended. Sorry, he's injured, beg
All
your
right.
pardon. Petrov's out as well, and also Hofflin. But credit to Dimble that this squad he's assembled actually, they're missing three starters. but still look very, very good. Anybody in here that stands out for you, Martin?
I mean, I do like Anelka. I do think that Volodenkov has always been brilliant in the Super League as well. Him and sort of Chinsky, I think, are the two sort of like unsung or underrated Russians that, or whatever they are, sort of old Soviet Union style players that have
Yeah.
done well. I was thinking might have put Vogel in there because I always talk shit about Johan Vogel and how terrible he is, but it is due to an injury, so fair play. He'll no doubt get a goal tonight. So yeah, no, it's a strong squad. I like all of them. I mean, I hate Brugink. He's like my
Yeah.
kryptonite, but so he'll probably get a goal.
Bound to score tonight, isn't he? Golden assist from Brugging, I think. Are you going to make a prediction? Look at that away kit. That is a brilliant away kit. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
We don't see it often. We don't see it often. I think
Any
it's only the
predictions
East
from you,
Coast that
Martin?
flashes. Oh, I think we're going to sneak. I think we're going to sneak another 1-0. I think Bartes is going to have an absolutely fantastic game.
Sneak another 1-0 as we come to the highlight of the evening, the top of the tape. A lot of Gazelles. There's a penalty and it's
Are you
saved.
fucking kidding me?
Shivu.
Why is he not set a penalty taker?
And there is Cosmos, who are coming forward in response. Milevsky, Volodenkov, and Volodenkov again comes forward. Save from Bartes. A lot of white and green here for you. But again, Gazelles coming back into it as the away side. Not many teams do this and see this much of the ball and text when they play Cosmos away. Another save from the Cosmos keeper. And there is a yellow card and a booking as we fast approach half time. And there is an Elka who puts East Coast Cosmos 1-0 up at half time. And unlucky, Martin, I think.
He actually not set a penalty. I mean, I'm sorry, Dan. Have you actually not set a penalty taker? Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's unfortunate, and it's also unfortunate that both of our central defenders are now on yellows. I mean, yeah. What should we do? We've played well. We should probably roll till 60, but that is disappointing, to be honest. That's a disappointing first half.
Yeah, Martin, you were making me sweat there. I was just straight into the
He
emails to
probably
see if he'd
hasn't.
set a penalty taker, and he hasn't. Um,
Lots of managers don't. Wouldn't be surprised.
and if it, I mean, I'm not sure what I could have possibly done if he had a set a penalty taker other than grovelled on stream
No
for
point, I
me
think.
life. But yeah, are you doing anything at half time here?
Because we had the four chances. I mean, I think the game has been pretty evenly matched. I don't think East Coast stats will be much better than this, to be honest. I'm a little bit concerned about the two yellows, but I'll roll till 60. However, knowing our luck, one of them will probably get sending off there. Did any
Yeah, it would be a
changes for Dimble? Oh, he said roll till
fourth
60
red
already.
card, wouldn't it? Or sorry, a fifth red card. Gazelles coming into it at the start of the second half. Shivo again is massively involved in the text, and we get to 60 minutes or 63 minutes as Anelka scoops one over, and we'll go with Coast first. I'll just flash up match ratings and condition with you being on comms, Martin.
See, this is what I mean, and this is no. I mean, Megahorse is a wonderful person in real life. Kibu has 18 on pens on the save. I couldn't give a shit if he had 60 million. I will never have Christian Kibu taking fucking penalties. I mean, why even play the game then? Why not just like put it in Excel, sort by highest value, and press enter? You know what I mean? That's why I don't care about the hidden stats and what they have on penalties. And that's not meant as a disrespect. That's just something, I would never go in and find out that some obscure shitty left back had the best penalty stats and then set him as penalty taker. That's just, for me, that's just a little bit, not what I would do. Anyway,
Rox
Arrow.
sums that up. I was kind of scratching around for how to respond to that, Martin. To be fair, and Rox just responds with, "This is a
Uh,
beautifully niche rant." So
like,
I'll echo that and say that is beautifully niche, and viewers and spectators alike can kind of take it or leave it. I'm suppose as is always the case
so,
when one of us goes off on one. Martin, are you doing anything here? You
so,
said you were maybe going to do
yeah.
something with the
I'm doing
arrows.
loads. So Phil Neville, arrow to where Rui Costa is, and Rui Costa stays where he is. Kufur goes off for Rivaldo.
Where is he? There he is for
There he
Rivaldo.
is.
Yeah.
And then he gets an arrow up to the left-hand side of Temudo.
Mm-hmm.
and a gat gets an arrow all the way to the front.
All the way?
And hopefully none of those two idiots at centre back get sent off. Well, they can stay on. Fingers crossed.
Is that it? Are you happy with that? Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm happy with it, but
But we'll go until the
we'll go
end.
with it.
Dimble goes as is. Bartes with a goal kick there as Rivaldo involved straight away. There's your man Brugging with half a chance. Temudo shoots and it's a save. Brugging again. Henri goes through. It's very, very end to end. The next goal is going to be absolutely massive. And I think it's only right that we slow this one down because we haven't done that much and we've smashed the full show out in more or less an hour. So we'll slow it down ever so slightly. Rivaldo, Didier Gat, and Toldo turns it behind. Seedorf whips in the corner. Milevski gets it away. It's a lot of pink and blue now. Paredes to a Gat, past the Gat rather. Indirect free kick. Brugging, Campbell, Gazelles hold on to the ball. Is there going to be one more chance? Volodenkov, Anelka hits the post and Dalmat hoofs it clear. Rivaldo, Temudo goes past Campbell, goes past Milevski into the penalty area and he puts it wide. Ryan, you drew 2s each with Vikings after leading 2-0. It was a really, really good game, mate. Really, really good game. Jens made some changes on 45 or 60 and it really changed the kind of way it was going. Vogel, Brugging on the volley. That would have been salt in the wounds to the co-coms tonight. Milevski, Temudo at the wrong end of the pitch to be doing anything. And that does take us to full time. And Martin, you were unlucky there. The penalty miss kind of defines the narrative of that game. More cards, but no reds. And Coast run out 1-0 winners with a very, very solid performance. Paredes pulling strings for fun. Martin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we've been undone by Toldo in the past. Milevski obviously putting in a good performance there. I mean, I can't really say anything. We had 9 shots, 8 on target. We missed a penalty. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed. I would have liked to have seen a point coming out of that, to be honest.
Yeah, and any thoughts on stats? Shivu turned his 5 into a 6 at the end. The Arrows kind of didn't really do that much, but Temudo with the majority of your chances and just couldn't put one away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. That seems kind of bullshit. Those those numbers, to be completely honest, when you saw how even the game was in terms of like the chances and so forth. But I mean, if we struggled with average rating last season as well. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it doesn't seem like a super accurate reflection. Although Didier Gat's misplaced passes was a bit of a sore one. No, I would have loved to have scored that penalty. I would have loved to have had Temudo or someone on that striker on the on the penalties. But yeah, we'll take it. It wasn't a terrible result overall. I mean, East Coast are our top side.
Yeah, and that brings us to the end of tonight's show with Dragons running out 4-0 winners against Aston Athletic. East Coast grinding out a 1-0 win against Gazelles. Haggis beating the Badgers 3-1. The Badgers scored. Fulchester Phoenix, who were 2-0 up at half time, ended up being pegged back to 2-2 and could have lost 3-2 with a disallowed Romeo second goal. Celtics beat Bostock Stanley and probably what is the shock of the night, 3-1. Bostock Stanley having only conceded once in 4 games, concede 3 in 90 minutes. Casuals doing what Hodgie does best and winning 1-0 against PPP, who still find themselves in 7th. White Rose defeated, unluckily, we think, collectively on comms, 1-2 by Northern Burn with a Segalco brace, which leaves the league table looking a little bit like this. Northern Burn are the only team to get 4 wins so far, and that finds them on 12 points at the top. Casuals second on 10 points. Fulchester Phoenix straight after them on 10 points, having dropped those 3 points from a winning position. East Coast Cosmos with a win tonight over Gazelles see themselves into 4th on 9 points, having won 3, lost 2 and not drawn any. Bostock Swanley pegged back for the first time really this season, although it'll probably not be terminal given how well they're playing. Go into 5th and they sit on 8 points. The mighty Haggis look to be back to their best with Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs pulling the strings, as well as that DM line, and they go into 6th on 7 points. PPP next, unlucky tonight, but doing well, into 7th on 7 points. The Dragons getting a much-needed win tonight to just change the perspective of their season so far, and they go into 8th on 6 points. Vikings really fought hard to pull back Fulchester United and are another team on 6 points, who also joined Celtics and the mighty Gazelles. Badgers struggling to score, struggling to win, are in 12th with 4 points. Astor Athletic, unlucky tonight, the experimental Savage, who see themselves in 13th with 4 points. And then at the bottom of the table, it is the mighty White Rose with Steve Wright on 2 points from a potential 15. Martin, any kind of thoughts from you before we wrap up?
No, I agree with the surprise result of the evening was that win for Celtics. I think everything else went not 100% to plan, but reasonably so. Some very good games in there, very entertaining. Lots of disallowed goals and drama in the league. So yeah, it was overall a good Saturday night for sure.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, mate. Really enjoyed it, and I think that was a fairly efficient stream actually, just over 1 hour 5 to get all those games in with a hell of a lot of action. Just click through some stuff. If anybody's at a loose end, Mega Horse I think is just about to jump on offline on here and play the Australia games. I think there are three Australia games. Where we at? 3 Australia games between the next round of fixtures. So on the 11th, there's American Samoa, and on the 13th, so let's just check where the competition fixtures. So that's on the 9th. Okay, right. No, it's not the case. Sorry, it's tonight. Yeah. So you'll jump on tomorrow night after we've done. Let me just go back to player stats. Martin, any final thoughts from you on how the season's going and just generally?
No, we'll have a quick look at the fixtures for the next round.
Yeah, so tomorrow night, Co-Coms is available if anyone wants to join me. We've got Badgers against PPP, Bostock Stanley against Gazelles, Coast against Dragons in a repeat of the semi-final from last season, Haggis against Fulchester Phoenix, which should be a great game, that Vikings against Astor, Tortuga Celtics against Northern Burn, and the job for White Rose doesn't get any easier against second place Casuals. Thanks for joining us tonight, Martin. Thanks for everybody else for taking some time out of your Saturday night to participate in the bonus show.
Busy evening.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody fancies to, if anybody wants to join me for a beer while I do packs, they'll be out straight away. Then I'll dip the link into the manager's thread and people can join us. But for now, thank you for joining us and cheers to Martin for your company, mate. Good night.
Well, good night, everyone.